بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this lesson, we are going to learn an important classification in Arabic verbs, the difference between sahih and ghayru sahih verbs. Let us begin with the basic idea in this chapter. Note that there will be detailed teaching about all the irregular verbs individually at the later part of this module. A sahih verb is a regular verb. Its root letters are all strong letters. There are no weak letters like waw, ya, or hamza, and there is no doubling of letters. Because of this, sahih verbs follow a stable and consistent pattern in both madi and mudari forms. On the other side, we have ghayru sahih verbs, which means irregular verbs. These verbs do not follow a single consistent pattern. The reason is very simple. Their root letters contain certain special letters that cause changes in the structure. Now, what are these letters? The key letters are hamza, waw, ya. These are called weak or defective letters. Whenever these letters appear in a root, they can cause the verb to change its form. In addition to that, sometimes the verb may have two identical letters together, which also creates a different pattern. So because of these reasons, ghayru sahih verbs behave differently from regular verbs. Now we divide ghayru sahih verbs into three main types. Mahmuz, verbs that contain a hamza. Mutal, verbs that contain weak letters, waw or ya. Muda'af, verbs that have doubled letters. So this is the first big understanding of the lesson. Sahih equals regular, no weak letters. Ghayru sahih equals irregular due to hamza, weak letters, or doubling. So in this lesson, your focus should be identify whether the verb is sahih or ghayru sahih. If ghayru sahih, identify which type it belongs to. Observe how the verb changes from madi to mudari. This understanding is very important because once you recognize the type of verb, you will be able to predict its behavior much more easily. Now let us look at the table in front of us. Before we go into the examples, it is very important that we first understand how to read this table, otherwise it will become confusing. The table is divided into two main sections. On the right side, we have sahih verbs, the regular verbs. These are simple. Their root letters are strong, and you will notice that the letters do not repeat side by side, and there are no weak letters like waw or ya or hamza affecting the structure. On the left side, we have ghayru sahih verbs, the irregular verbs. This is the main focus of our lesson. Now inside ghayru sahih, the table is further divided into categories. First, you will see mahmuz. These are verbs that contain a hamza. Then next to that, you will see a larger section labeled mutal, which means verbs containing weak letters, waw and ya. Now inside mutal, we have four subtypes, and this is where your memorization comes in. This is your manal structure. M, mithal, weak letter at the beginning. A, ajwaf, weak letter in the middle. N, nakis, weak letter at the end. L, lafif, two weak letters. You can see these labeled clearly in the table with M, A, N, L, so always follow them in this order. To remember easily, it is manal. And finally, on the far left, we have muda'af, which are verbs with double letters. Now look at the rows. The first row shows the madi forms, the past tense. The second row shows the mudari forms, the present tense. So for every column, you must always read madi first, then mudari, and compare the change. So your approach should be identify the type of verb, mahmuz, mithal, ajwaf, nakis, lafif, muda'af. Look at the Mahdi form, then observe how it changes in the Mudari form. Identify what changed and why. Mahdi first, then Mudari. Explain what changed and why. Now let us go through the table carefully, column by column, starting from the right side, and in each case, we will look at the Mahdi form first, then the Mudari form, and observe the change. 1. Sahih, regular verbs. Let us begin with the simplest. Mahdi, Nasara, he helped. Daraba, he struck. Mudari, Yansuru, he helps. Yadribu, he strikes. There is no unusual change. The structure remains stable. This is why it is called Sahih, regular. 2. Mahmuz, hamzated verbs. Now move one step left. These verbs contain hamza. Mahdi, akala, he ate. Sa'ala, he asked. Qara'a, he read. Mudari, ya'kulu, he eats. Yas'alu, he asks. Yaqra'u, he reads. The hamza stays, but it affects pronunciation, affects writing sometimes. Structure mostly remains, but attention is needed. 3. Mithal, M, weak at beginning. Now move to the mutal section. Mahdi, wa'ada, he promised. Wada'a, he placed. Mudari, ya'idu, he promises. Yadawu, he places. The waw disappears in Mudari. This is the key sign of mithal. 4. Ajwaf, A, weak letter in middle. Mahdi. Qala, he said. Ba'a, he sold. Mudari. Yaqulu, he says. Yabi'u, he sells. The middle weak letter changes into a long vowel, waw or ya. The word opens. That's why it is called ajwaf, hollow. 5. Naqis, N, weak letter at end. Mahdi. Da'a, he called. Hada, he guided. Mudari. Yad'u, he calls. Yahdi, he guides. The last weak letter becomes a long vowel, may drop in some forms. This is the sign of Naqis verbs. 6. Lafif, L, 2 weak letters. Mahdi, Waqa, he protected. Hawa, he fell. Mudari, Yaqi, he protects. Yahwi, he falls. There are 2 weak letters, so changes are more noticeable. 7. Muda'af, doubled verbs. Now the final column on the left, Mahdi. Marra, he passed. Massa, he touched. Mudari. Yamurru, he passes. Yamassu, he touches. 2 letters are the same, combined using shadda. This is the key sign of muda'af. In a minute, we shall look at our first irregular verb, Mahmuz. Before we go into the detailed rules of Mahmuz verbs, we need a clear map summary of the families of verbs. This slide briefly reminds us that map. If students do not understand these families first, then later, rule changes may feel confusing. But once the families are clear, the detailed changes become much easier. The first type is salim, the sound or regular verb. This is the verb that does not contain hamza, waw, or ya as one of its root letters, and also does not have the second and third radicals identical. In simple words, this is the verb that follows the normal rules without special weakness or extra complication. Examples given are as follows: sajada, dakala, and kataba. These are the standard regular verbs, so they are not the focus of this lesson. The second type is mahmuz, the hamzated verb. This is the family we are going to focus on in the main part of the lesson. A mahmuz verb is a verb that has hamza as one of its radicals. The hamza may come as the first radical, as in akala, or the second radical, as in sa'ala, or the third radical, as in kara. So the simple idea is this: if one of the root letters is a hamza, The verb belongs to the Mahmuz family. The third big family is mu'tal, the weak letter verb. This is the verb that contains wa or ya as a weak radical. The slide then divides this family into 4 important types. The first subtype is mithal. This is when the weak letter comes as the first radical, so the verb begins with a weak letter. Examples include wazana, waqafa, wada'a, ya'isa, and yasura. The important thing to remember here is weak at the beginning. The second subtype is ajwaf. This is when the weak letter comes as the second radical, meaning the weak letter is in the middle. Examples include Kala, Sara, and Nama. The important idea here is weak in the middle. The third subtype is Naqis. This is when the weak letter comes as the third radical, so the weakness is at the end. Examples include Da'a, Baka, and Nasiya type patterns, so the student should remember weak at the end. The fourth subtype is Lafif, where more than one weak letter appears in the root. This itself has 2 kinds. The first is Lafif Makrun, where the 2 weak letters come together, meaning the second and third radicals are weak. The example given is Kawiya or Yaqwa type patterns. The second is Lafif Mafruk, where the weak letters are separated, meaning the first and third radicals are weak. Examples include Waqa, Wa, and similar forms. So this last type is the family with 2 weak letters. Then the slide gives one more category, Muda'af, the doubled letter verb. This is when the second and third radicals are the same. Examples include Shamma, Mara, and Hajja. So this is not a weak verb and not a hamzated verb. It is its own special family. Next, we have a very important concept, ta'lil, also called tabdil. This is not itself a family of verbs, but rather a process. The slide explains that the purpose of ta'lil or tabdil is to shorten, simplify, and make words easier to pronounce. This is extremely important. Students should not think these changes happen randomly. Arabic is not changing words for no reason. These changes happen because some verbs are irregular, and Arabic adjusts their forms to make pronunciation smoother and easier. So the big lesson of this slide is this. Before learning detailed rules, students must know the families. Some verbs are regular, some are hamzated, some are weak, and some are doubled. Once that map is clear, the detailed changes of each family become much easier. So the memory line so far is, first know the family, then learn the rule. And another helpful line is, Salim is regular, Mahmuz has Hamza, Mutal has weak letters, and Muda'af has doubled letters. Today, we are studying rules for Mahmuz verbs. A Mahmuz verb is a verb in which one of the root letters is a Hamza. This lesson is important because Mahmuz verbs sometimes look regular, and sometimes the Hamza changes its written form or becomes lighter or appears differently in different patterns. The key is to understand that these changes happen by rule and for ease of pronunciation. Rule number 1. Change in only Mahmuz fa kalima. The first rule says, in Mahmuz verb, no tabdil effect on ayn and lam kalima. This means that in this lesson, the special treatment is focused on the place of the Hamza itself. We do not treat the whole root as changing randomly. The main concern is the letter that carries the Hamza, so the student should first locate where the Hamza is and then watch what happens to it in different forms. Rule number 2, Masdar and Mudari form 4. Now the slide gives the next rule. If the Hamza has sukun and the letter before it has a vowel, then the Hamza with sukun is written according to the harakah of the letter before it. The slide summarizes the rule very clearly. For example, in masdar, the changes are alif for fatha, ya for kasra, waw for dhamma. This is one of the most important writing rules of hamza. So the seat of the hamza changes according to the vowel before it. Then the slide gives the family of amana. Amana, yuminu, tuminu, amin, aminuna, aminu, then imanan, and the masdar is imanan. This is a very useful example family. It shows students that the hamza is still part of the word, but its written form follows the vowel environment. So here, the student must see both the sound pattern and the writing pattern. Rule number 3. Exception in Amr formation. Khilaful qiyas. Now we come to the imperative forms. The slide says this section is contrary to the regular pattern, meaning that the command forms here do not always follow what a student may first expect from a fully regular model. The examples are amara, yamuru, tamuru, mur, muru, akala, yakulu, takulu, kul, kulu, akhada, yakhudu, takhudu, khud. The important teaching point here is that Arabic makes the command form lighter. So, although the full underlying shape may preserve the hamza, common usage gives the shorter and easier forms, more, kul, khud. So, here again, the principle of ta'lil or tabdil is working. The form becomes easier on the tongue. Rule number 4, mudari exception. Now the slide moves to a special exception in the mudari. It mentions 3-letter words like ra'a, yara. This is an important section because such words are used frequently and Arabic lightens them in actual usage. The slide also notes that with a ya ending, the Mahmuz verb will follow the Naqis rule in some patterns. So here the student must understand that one irregular feature can interact with another. Ra, yarayu, yara, tara, ra, ara, yuriyu, yuri, ari. Then the slide gives a very important note. In form 4, amr, hamza will come back. So original hamza is back and no extra letter added. This is extremely important. It means that in some forms, especially in the mudari, the hamza may seem to reduce or disappear for ease, but in the form 4 imperative, it returns. So students must not think the hamza is permanently gone. It may be hidden in one pattern and return in another. The forms shown around this section are there to help students see that movement. In one place, the hamza seems reduced for ease. In another place, it comes back clearly because the pattern requires it. So the key point of Rule 4 is, some Mahmuz forms become lighter in mudari usage, but the original hamza may return again in amris. Now, Rule number 5, change in mudario. Now we come to the final rule on the slide. This rule says, if the hamza is in the middle of a mudari verb and the letter before it has sukun, then the haraka of the hamza can be transferred to the preceding letter, and the hamza may then be omitted. Alternatively, the hamza may also be kept. The slide clearly says, both are correct. This is a very important teaching point. Students often think Arabic must have only one valid form. But here, the lesson is telling us that sometimes Arabic may allow a form where the hamza is omitted and also a form where the hamza is kept. The table makes that very clear. Hamza is omitted. Yasalu, tasalu, sal. Hamza is kept. Sa'ala, yas'alu. Tasalu, isal. Then the slide supports this with Qur'anic examples. Sal Bani Israela. Ask the children of Israel how many clear signs we have sent them. 2:211. Wasalman arsalna min qablika mir rusulina. And ask the messengers we sent before you. 43:45. So the message here is that Arabic may preserve the Hamza in one pattern and lighten it in another, and both are part of the accepted grammatical system. Final section at the bottom of the slide. Now the slide returns again to the family of amana and the masdar imanan, and then asks a very important question. Why Hamza is omitted in Form 4 for 14 Mudari Siga. This is the section that shows the special nature of Form 4. Let's remind us with the earlier line of conjugation with amana. Amana, yuminu, tuminu, amin, aminuna, aminu. Then imanan. And reapply this with the verb akrama. The verb begins with Hamza in the past across the wider 9 keys Mudari forms. One might expect forms like akrama, yuakrimu, yuakrimani, yuakrimuna, tuakrimu, tuakrimani, yuakrimna, tuakrimu, tuakrimani, tuakrimuna, tuakrimina, tuakrimani, tuakrimna, uakrimu, nuakrimu. But Arabic does not keep that heavy Hamza through all these Mudari forms. The Hamza is dropped and the forms become lighter and easier. For example, akrama, yukrimu, tukrimu, ukrimu, nukrimu. And in the 9 keys set, akrama, yukrimu, yukrimani, yukrimuna, tukrimu, tukrimani, yukrimna, tukrimu, tukrimani, tukrimuna, tukrimina, tukrimani, tukrimna, ukrimu, nukrimu. Why is this done? Because Arabic wants the form to become shorter, simpler, easier to pronounce. This is exactly the purpose of ta'lil or tabdil. And then the slide ends with the final reminder. In Form 4 Amr, Hamza will come back, so original Hamza is kept and no extra letter added. So this is the special beauty of Form 4. Hamza appears in the original past form. It becomes lighter in many Mudari forms. And then it returns again in the imperative. That is why students must learn not only the written form, but the logic behind the form. Conclusion. So the lesson of this whole slide, in the exact order it was given, is this. First, Mahmuz change is focused on the Hamza itself. Second, the seat of the Hamza follows the preceding vowel. Third, the imperative may come in lighter forms contrary to regular expectation. Fourth, some Mudari forms are especially lightened. Fifth, Hamza may be omitted or kept in middle Hamza Mudari forms. And finally, in Form 4, the Hamza may drop in Mudari for easier pronunciation, but return again in Amr. So, the memory line for this slide is, in Mahmuz verbs, the Hamza follows rule, position, and pronunciation ease. It may stay, shift, drop, or return. And the special memory line for the bottom section is, Form 4 begins with Hamza, but Ta'lil often drops it in Mudari to make the form shorter, simpler, and easier to pronounce. Then the Amr brings it back again. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.